Okie dokie. Let's begin the November 12th Town Council Informational Work Session. We'll start by, I'll call the order roll and let the record read that the entire council and mayor are present. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah. Okay, we're going to begin with, we have a candidate for planning and zoning. I've forwarded the resume to Jonathan Evans. Most of you met him via the screen when he applied for the town council vacancy. I think the council knows the drill. We'll see if anyone on the council has any questions. I'll begin with the vice president. Sir?
No, I'm not having questions.
Just share with us again, if you would, your interest, the reason you're interested in serving on planning and zoning?
Yeah, sure. The main reason is I have two young kids. So just being a part of the future of the town is the main reason for me. Giving them the best future possible. Just helping the town in any way I can. Good reason. Thank you.
Before I go to Greg, some of you may recall or not a couple Stars and Stripes festival ago, maybe two, was it? His grandfather came down. He was a World War II veteran. I don't know if you remember that event. The town at the time decided to honor his grandfather by buying a brick for him over at Veterans Park. And I believe before he passed, I believe he had the opportunity to come down and see the brick that we gave him. So just to kind of, stuff like that really makes me appreciate living in a small town. I was glad I had the opportunity to meet your grandfather that day. Mr. Morris.
Thanks for reapplying, Jonathan, coming up. I'm sorry I didn't make the connection. I hadn't recognized your name from the lot that was trying to fill Councilman Cumbo's seat there, but you live here in town, right?
Yes, right on Cox Road, right next to where the Heritage is being built.
How long have you been a resident of the town?
February 2018.
Are you still working in Delaware? Are you telecommute or?
No, we're actually selling our house over there next month. We live here and I work in Brandywine at the power plant, right off 301.
Okay. Well, thanks for stepping up again. That's the only question I had. Thanks.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for volunteering, and my questions have been answered, so thanks.
Likewise, at the time, I wished you were here because there were some, and when we saw you before, it's always better to see in person. So I'm glad you came today. But I remember you had enthusiasm and some ideas for the town, and really just wanted to serve. And like it's already been said, really appreciate you coming out to do that. And I welcome you to the Planning and Zoning Board next week.
Thank you, Jonathan. Have a good evening with your family. You want to, you don't have to. It's the old story. Once you got the job, you kind of like, all you can do is mess it up, right? I got you. You got a little night out, never hurt a guy. Okie dokie. Next we have ordinance O-19-16, which is the elections. Y'all have reviewed the hard work that Randy did. What I want to do is just see if the council has any you know what's going on. I just want to see if the council has any questions of Randy, and I'll start with Derek this time.
I don't have any specific questions. I know there's been a lot of work done on this and for a long time, and some of it's just modernization, some of it's actually bringing it in line with how we do elections now. So is there anything that you want to point out to us to look at specifically? Because I've read it and nothing really struck me as wanting to ask a question, but I was just curious from your perspective, you know, because you've lived it.
Let me first start off by saying, the reason Brian here is another member of the Board of Elections. I just wanted to remind you, I don't know if everyone knows him or not, but he's on the Board of Elections this time as well. The basic thing here is kind of like you alluded to, we're trying a couple of things, and what the main one is bringing the code up to match the way we actually do business. And that's because some laws have changed, the way Maryland does things. We don't get the touch screen anymore. We have to have a paper ballot, and we use scanners. And so I've updated all that information into the code and into the charter.
This is in line with ethics as well, or actually maybe more the other way around. Ethics is in line with this, but yeah, no, appreciate all the work. I don't have anything specific to ask.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate all the work you all have done. I do have a couple questions and just a couple things I wanted to point out on, let's see, section 13, which I don't know, is about 10 pages in or so. Give you all a second to get there.
All right.
On 22-26, Declaration of Candidacy,
Yes.
Part A, I would just suggest there on the second line where it says mayor or councilman to change that to mayor or town council. And that would be consistent with some of the other language in there. And then on the 2 pages over, section 16, I just had a question. You go on 22-30 ballot formulation, part A, you go into detail about filling in the oval, that kind of thing. And other places it was a little more general. And I was just curious, will it always be filling in the oval, or should it be something a little more general?
Right now, that's what it is. It's oval. In the 2016 election and the 2018 election, they've been ovals. Now, of course, we only have ours every 4 years, so our last election was 2016.
Mhm.
We no longer have the squares, so that's why I was trying to change the language to reflect what we were doing. I agree with you. It's possible it could change again, but I don't have any intention of changing it. And I mean, the oval is fine.
Right.
It makes it a lot easier for people to shade it in. It's got to be shaded in. A square is a little harder to shade in than an oval. I think that's why the Maryland uses it. And we also have to, we go to a company that's approved for the ballot, and we have to have the ballots made because they have to be scannable.
Right.
We don't want to be hand counting 2,000 ballots.
So yeah, and that's fine. I don't have a huge preference either way. I just wanted to maybe avoid needing to change it if it changed, but with more general language. Exactly, the
Right.
language where you specifically say oval instead of saying marking it appropriately or something like that, is my only point there. And
I don't have a problem with that. In fact, I agree with it. So I'll see if I can work that out a little bit. You can see that I'm mainly changing from the existing, which says a square.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I just wanted to throw that out, see what y'all thought. Section 25. Another, I don't know, 6 or 7 pages over, 4 pages over. 22-55 instructions to voters, third line down. After the end of that first sentence, the if
I see. I
should,
capitalized. Okay.
yeah, be capitalized, I guess, is all that is needed there. Section 26, just another question. I see it's been changed from majority to 2 or more of election judges. I was just hoping you could explain some of the reasoning behind that.
Yes. First of all, 2 things. There's the Board of Elections. There's 3 of us. All of them become a judge. But we usually have last time we had 9 judges. I don't want to do a majority of 9 judges. We don't need that for that particular type of information. So I wanted to change it to 2 or more. I think 2 of the judges is enough for that. Saying a majority and having to get 5 when I've got them busy
Right.
doing so much, it's not a good thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And there's one area in here where you'll see, I don't know, right, there's one place where I changed it from judges to Board of Election because it was more of a decision that belonged to board members.
Okay. All right. Thank you for explaining that. Section 31.
When you say section 31,
He's talking about the sections in the articles. So
Yeah. There's no page numbers, so
this is the
Okay,
way
I got
Alyssa does up the
under
the law.
2263, section 31. Okay.
yeah.
So it's 2264 that we're talking about.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So under section 31, at the bottom of the page there, would you just, what is the significance of designated reserved?
Oh,
Yeah, is that brackets mean it's been removed or what's going on there?
that's a an Alyssa thing. Let me find that paragraph there just to make sure I'm saying I'm on the right one. $22.64.
But
Yeah,
the
so
the
this
thing
is-
is, you
this
have an
is-
adjective, but not a noun.
This is 2263, section 31.
Okay.
Yeah.
63.
Yeah.
There's so many different things in here. I want to make sure. I think this is one where the paragraph was going away. I just wanted to make sure. Nope. 64. Okay. Oh, okay. 2264. So
20, yeah.
that paragraph is going away.
So this is,
And Alyssa, our lawyer, she decided that she would put it into reserve rather than renumber everything.
okay. I got you.
I think that's why she did that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure that was the one, but we actually deleted it's really repeating information that's already covered in the above paragraphs. And so I was trying to get rid of the redundancy. And so she did the reserved part. She did that in a couple of places where she just reserved the paragraph, emptied it, reserved it, rather than renumber.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think that was all the questions that I had.
Morris?
Thank you, both of you gentlemen, and whoever else was involved, if you have a third on going through this to improve it. I had a couple of general questions, Randy. All the changes here to the code, these are all proposed by the Board of Elections?
Yes.
Okay.
The ones that really reviewed it this time, we weren't able to get in contact with Will, but Brian and I reviewed them.
Sure, I'm good with that.
And so that's the majority of the board. I look at it that way.
Right, and I know it's the next agenda item. Same goes for the charter amendment, though.
Correct.
It's all y'all suggested changes, right?
Right. I brought this forward to the mayor and then the mayor introduces it.
Okay. I know that there were, I don't know if it was in 2015 or not, there were a couple Board of Election members that abruptly resigned.
2013, December.
Was it that long ago?
Or-
Wow.
Like July rather.
Great.
That's when I became on the board.
I was here that night in Town Hall. It was an exciting evening, to say the least.
Maybe for you.
Okay, well, I had a couple questions here. My contribution, if you will. Under page 2, where you're defining polling place, I see you have the Town Hall of Chesapeake Beach, Community Center, NECC, which is next door. Sometimes do we vote at the North Beach Fire Hall? Does that make sense to put that in? Or I know
We've never
sure
voted there in town election.
No, that's the problem. I was going to bring
Yeah. The town of Chesapeake Beach, no, the answer is no to your question. You wanted to know, we voted in 2 places. We used to vote here solely, And then we decided, that this place just got too small, and we moved it to NECC only.
Mhm.
So we've only ever had one place for the Chesapeake Beach elections. Now the county and the state and all that, they got a whole different thing going on, but
Right,
not
right.
the town. And we're only
Okay,
here
we're
for
only
the town.
dealing about the town.
That's all we're dealing
So,
with.
and you agree with what he said, I presume?
Exactly. Yeah,
He knows.
we've talked that out before. I brought that to him one time and talked to the mayor about the potential of doing that before I talked to Gail about it at the election. And it would be pretty. There's a lot to do to try to make that happen, but we didn't see the reason to do that. There's about last time I remember, there's about 600 voters registered in at the fire department that vote there. The ones that used to vote at Beach Elementary, they were all changed to the community center. So everyone else, over 3,000, vote at the community center. Just so you understand, the intention and the way I've written this is that the 4-year election will always take place in the community center. If
For all
we have
town
a
residents.
if we have a special election, we'll probably hold it here. The last special election, we had about 700 and some voters. At the community center, we had almost 2,000 people vote. It was just under 2,000 voters.
So on that note, I'd like to jump to the second to the last page, where there's some electioneering locations that are identified, and it's just here at Town Hall. And there's no need to have an NECC layout where you can,
I
Electioneer.
don't control that.
right?
That's controlled by the county. So I've left that alone.
Okay.
They
Fair enough.
decide where the electioneering takes place. In fact, they have also told me that in the 2020 that I think they're going to put us down in the they're going in the gym again, and they're going to put us in that other room off to the left. So we'll probably still be on the first floor instead of the second floor, which will make it a little easier for the flow of voters. I am planning on having some signs made up to put over at the North Beach Fire Department to tell them where to come vote for mayor and town council.
Gotcha. Okay. And again, as observations, spent a lot of time on this stuff. Let's see. On page 5, it's section 4, but it's at page 5 of the document there. And it was just an observation. There's been a lot of language eliminated there. Could you explain the reason
Oh,
for
we're
that?
talking about 22-9?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have mirrored the information that this is the Maryland law.
Okay.
Okay, and why do we want to follow that? Well, we have a registry which uses the Maryland Universal Registry, and we have a town supplemental registry, which is 2 people. So basically, our people have to qualify and go by the Maryland Universal Registration laws and stuff. So it makes more sense to follow their law, and that's the way they currently have it.
Okay.
I also reviewed Maryland law for this, and a lot of our code, all these other paragraphs and stuff, a lot of it comes directly. I saw a lot of it comes directly from the Maryland code.
Okay. No, that makes sense for sure. The next page, section 6, 22-11. I guess item A, there's a sentence 4 that's been, the date of birth has been crossed out, and then I think it looks like there is a supplemental voter registration list administered by the board. Can you explain a little bit about the supplemental voter registration list administered by the board?
Well, there's 2 people on it. It basically allows voters who, for some reason, do not want to register to vote in the county, state, and federal election, and they don't want to do that, which is very easy with your just renewing your driver's license. You just check a box and you're done. So for people that don't want to do that, we do have a town supplemental. I've changed the verbiage to call it a town supplemental because that verbiage is the verbiage used in the state law for city or municipalities, saying we can have a supplemental list. So what we do is we allow them to register for our town supplemental list. Does that answer your question?
More or less, yeah. Sure, I'm good.
We don't really do registration days anymore because all they have to do is come see the, there's 4 registrars, the three Board of Election and the town clerk, Sharon. So all they have to do is come in any day during business hours, get a form from her and submit a registration. They can register any day.
Okay, section 13. I guess paragraph B, but it's the following, on the following page there. Item 7, you're clarifying some of the financial disclosure statement complying with the requirements of Chapter 25, Public Ethics of the Town Code. If I understand this right, candidate generally known by name. Now my comment here was reviewed by Board of Elections and approved. The financial disclosure, okay, this is the financial disclosure that a candidate has to file when they make their declaration.
Right. And I originally was quoting, I had visited them and worked with them. We did trick them a little bit. We told them certificate of nomination and we changed it to declaration. But that's one verbiage. But what I did here was keep it generic. Actually, Alyssa's the one that helped me and suggested this. So I didn't pick a specific code. What I basically, a specific paragraph in their code, I just said, hey, you're going to follow Chapter 25, the ethics law, which is just written, which is saying the same thing, that you have to submit a financial disclosure. So this is saying that when you apply, when you submit your declaration to declare a declaration of candidacy to declare as a candidate, you have to also file or have filed a financial disclosure.
And does the financial disclosure need to be approved by the boards of elections or the ethics commission at all in any way? Prior to, in validating their candidacy?
No, not, we talked about that a lot, and they weren't ready to come up with these are the qualification factors, because I'd have to put that in law. I'd have to put that in the code.
Okay.
And so, no, if they submit a financial disclosure, that's all it takes to be able to get on to the candidacy. Now, you've got to go through the rest of the Chapter 25, and you have to continue to meet the qualifications of that. Of course, if you're elected, you're going to have to do that anyways.
Okay. Section 34, 22-69, types of recounts. And I see you're making a structural change there.
We're on section
see.
34. Okay.
Yeah, section 34, paragraph A. And you're changing, let's see,
Yeah.
some of
I'm
the
going
parameters
away
for the
from-
recount, where you're going from 5% of total votes cast for mayor to less than 5% of total number of voters voting. I guess that'll reduce recounts, right?
No. This is, it really, to be honest, it really doesn't make it'll actually increase the number. If you do it the way it's worded, and it's even more important for the town council, where a voter can actually cast 6 votes. So if you say percentage of votes, are you counting 6 times the number of voters and doing 5% of that? It makes more logic to just do 5% of the people that voted in the election. And we will have that number because we,
Right. 5%, I guess my observation is 5% of total voters voting is going to be higher than the total votes cast for mayor. I guess sometimes people don't vote for mayor. I mean,
That's correct.
Right. Yeah.
that is correct. It probably is. I mean, the last time we had to recount both the mayor election and the town council election.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. Okay. Well, I mean, obviously you thought about that, and you said that it just made more sense to go to total number of votes. It's just
Well, it's
easier.
It's the most fair way to go.
Right.
That's just it's just simple. You know, half the times in this town, the mayors ran unopposed, and people won't vote for the mayor because they know he's already in, and it's not a fair number. A fair number is the number of people that show up that day to vote, be it 1,800 or 1,810. So no, it's just fair.
There was 700 and some for the special election. It was almost 2,000 for the 2016 election.
Okay. That's my only questions. Thanks, Randy.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Brian.
Just want to again thank you guys. I know you guys know more about the state law than probably most of the people up in Annapolis do. So you've really put a lot of time in that. So thank you. Councilman.
Couple of comments. I want to reinforce some of what you've already heard. One is I also had a comment on the places for voting. And I want to reinforce the comment that we really do need some signs at the firehouse. That's where I voted in the national elections last year. And I actually mentioned to a couple people, you know, hey, if you wanted to vote in the town, you got to go over to the community center. And they went, nah, I've done enough for the day. So I think some signs there would be helpful. Second, again, reinforcing on the terminology, you know, the his or her, they, it's sort of scattered through here right now. You might want to do another sweep of it. You know, for example, in 2254 voter authority card, it says he shall. Change of address is his address, and then instructions voter, it goes to his or her. So it sort of skips around a little bit. On electioneering, I want to make sure I was clear that what this says right now is the only place electioneering is going to be allowed is here at Town Hall. Correct?
That is only, maybe I have to look at the way that's worded. That is only for elections held at town hall. The electioneering for the 4-year election is actually controlled by the county. They control that area around the community center,
Okay,
and they
because
say where they
all of
can
us
be.
were there last year at the
Right.
community center.
What he's trying to say, we have no say in that matter. That's county code.
I don't get to put that in my code.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In the event we were to have a referendum or a special election,
Sure.
which we did like once,
Yeah.
It's covered in here.
Okay.
Larry, I may have to look at whether I have alluded to that's the only thing, and I haven't left the opening for that only applies to town hall, and maybe I need to put a verbiage in there that says the community center is controlled by the county.
I would think so, because right now it would seem to me somebody who objects to the electioneering could pull this document up now and say, hey, you're not allowed to do that at the community center. Your ordinance specifically says you're only limited to town hall.
But their objections would be incorrect.
That's not what this says.
Doesn't matter
But
because
they
our
still
law
would be
doesn't apply
incorrect.
there.
But the point is, if you want to put a sentence in there to make
Right.
it clear, that's
It's a
fine.
good idea, I
Yeah.
think.
And then just last is on the picture, you might just want to say that that's Chesapeake Beach Town Hall because, you know, I recognize it, but there's no identifier on it as to what it is.
Right.
Thank you.
I didn't even identify. I was struggling.
I echo the thanks. I won't dwell on that. I look at this document and I, being relatively new, find it overwhelming. And I'm just kind of curious how you start this. How would it, is there a template that you use, or do you go to, weareatown.org? You know, how do you find this code, and how do you know that what you're doing is in sync with what other municipalities our size and shape do?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I didn't rewrite the entire code, that the code was already developed. And all I did, you can see what I've changed. And secondly, the more answer your question is the way I've educated myself is I go work with the county, and I also serve as an election judge for them in the off years and even early voting, so that I go to their training and I learn all their stuff. Plus, I also reviewed the state code. Plus, the town also a few years ago, 4 years ago or so, sent me to the Ocean City, where I got to interact with all the other people that write election codes and got to talk to them. But generally, I do it by looking at the Maryland code and talking to the county board of elections.
And then the follow up on that, I guess, is our town attorney, I assume, has not a veto power, but a sweep through this that just says, yeah, this is in sync with county and state law and so on. Is that fair to say?
Actually, it's fair to say that I gave input to the mayor, who then gave it to Alyssa, who then wrote this section stuff, and that's her, not me.
Okay.
She actually put this into form, and Holly and I and Alyssa had multiple meetings talking out all the different sections and things.
As someone who will ultimately sign it, that's comforting. That's good to know. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say thank you to you and Brian also for all your effort and time. I'm glad to hear that, and I know you looked at it, the ethics compatibility. That's really good, and I concur with what Larry said about North Beach and making sure that they understand that folks that vote there, like I do, have to go to the community center. Other than that, I mean, they've pretty much covered my questions.
You're welcome.
Don't go anywhere. We have another
Could
document.
I have one alibi real quick?
Sure. You have,
It came up during discussion.
Well, good.
So if you go back to the electioneering part in the very back, this is actually on section 39.
Okay.
The
Oh.
text says designation of areas where electioneering is prohibited, but then in the next paragraph it was changed to permitted. So it looks like one of
Yeah, I can, I'll just need help from the town engineer to change that. The change verbiage actually came from legal, from our attorney. She wanted to change to permitted. And so we can make that change so that it follows that
yeah,
way.
just for
We'll
consistency.
change the
is all I was
permissible
pointing
to,
at. Right.
Yeah,
It sounds like you're going to rewrite that a little bit anyway, like some of the comments brought out, but I just wanted to point that out to you.
well, the old thing was prohibited.
Right.
And the reason we changed to permitted is because in when we published the change in June or July of 2016, you see the drawing says permissible. So it doesn't say prohibited. It says, we actually colored in the permissible. So I changed the verbiage to match I initially put permissible in there. She changed it to permitted. So the reason this change is taking place that's here now is because our current drawing, that drawing there is currently in the code, and it currently says permissible, and it does those places. So I'm trying to make the code.
And I agree with you. That wasn't my point. Because you have it in bold, that was changed, but in the paragraph right above that, you have in regular text, it's still prohibited. Still listed as prohibited.
I'm sorry. That is the legal format. What she's doing is she's saying designation of areas where electioneer is prohibited. That's the
I
way
got
it
you, I
says
got
it
you.
now.
Yep, I got you.
Then the 2287 is a change to it. So
Disregard.
it has to stay like that.
Yep, disregard. I got it. Thanks.
thank you, sir. Okay, Charter Amendment Resolution CAR 19-2, elections. Do you mind, Valerie, starting this round?
Yeah, just for a question of consistency. On section 2, it states it shall be the duty of the Board of Elections to keep the town supplemental registration list. And then as we just discussed in section 6, 22 11, A and B. There's reference to supplemental voter registration list administered by the board, and then below it in B, there's supplemental registry. So is there any difference between the supplemental registry and the registration list? And should they be the same?
There are two registration lists. There's two
Okay.
registries.
Right.
One is the one that comes from the Maryland University. I need to find a paragraph to make sure I'm not, where,
Okay, on the one that we just discussed previously?
yeah.
It's Section 6, 22, 11, A and B.
All right, section 6. I'm looking at the wrong one here. Okay.
And
so-
then on the one that we're discussing now, it's Section 2, third paragraph, underline supplemental registration list.
Sure.
I'll say it again. It's
I'm confused.
Sec-
Which document are you looking at?
both. I'm comparing
Oh,
them.
you're-
There's
okay,
a-
I
there's a
didn't get that part.
difference.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
There's a supplemental voter registration list administered by the board. That's in 2211A.
Mhm.
And what's the other part that you're,
And 2211B, it says supplemental registry. And in section C606, it says supplemental registration list.
the,
I mean,
and also.
my only point is, should they be
Now I
consistent?
know, what you're asking. And so I'm going to refer you to,
There was just 3 references to supplemental in slightly different ways.
registry is a term used to describe the registration list. The registration lists make up the registry.
Fair enough.
I'll relook at that to make sure there's not something wrong there, but it's, the registry is the term for a registration list. It's just another way of saying it.
Well, then, should it be in 2211A, it says supplemental voter registration? And in 606, it says supplemental registration list. Do you need to have the voter there? Word voter?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure where you're talking about. Which one are you on?
Comparing the two again,
Okay,
22A,
all right, let's see, section 6. 2211A?
Yep.
And there's a supplemental voter registration list.
now go to section 606 and the other
Okay.
document. And it says supplemental registration list. So do you need to add voter to that?
Terminology isn't consistent.
It's not consistent.
Okay,
That's it. I mean, this is, no other questions?
Yeah, I didn't read these as 2 distinct documents. So I have no additional questions on this one.
None here, sir?
I have one question.
Great.
Randy. I think it's section 3, the
Okay.
charter amendment. Where you're describing, see, at least 49 days prior to the election, the Board of Elections shall certify that each proposed candidate is eligible to hold office. If somebody were to declare their candidacy well ahead of time and they submitted all their paperwork, it's possible that they could be, I don't know what the terminology is, prohibited from running for office. And it seems that, say, for example, if they declared their candidacy 3 months before the election, you're giving yourselves, you're saying that you will certify the person is eligible at least 49 days prior to the election. Is that right?
yes, they have to do it 56 days and I have to do it 49 days prior.
I'm just saying if at 56 days, that's you can't declare 55 days. 56 is the
What we're really doing here with the 56, the 56 is where the candidate declares candidacy. 49 is where I I certify him.
56
as
is the
qualified.
latest that they can
Right.
declare. And I'm
And-
just saying, if they declare well ahead of that,
That's okay.
would it be better for you to put if they declared 100 days prior to the election, give yourself 3 weeks to declare that they're eligible, as opposed to waiting to where there's 49 days left before the election? You follow what I'm saying?
I don't think he's doing that. I think he can work whenever he wants.
Yeah,
He doesn't have to wait
actually-
between
Okay.
50
Actually,
days.
I get signatures right away.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what your point was. So your
It says
point
at
is
least
that you would like
49
me to do it
days.
earlier.
You have the ability to do it earlier. I see that.
Yes, I just require at least 2 judges, at least 2 board members to sign it.
Hmm.
In other words, this is addressing the person who would file at the very last day.
Right.
If you file early, he has plenty of time to certify the person. So it's
Okay.
And please understand also that this change, the 56 and the 49, is bringing it in line with what it says in the code. This has been wrong for a while.
Right.
They haven't matched.
Okay. Well, I know the intention is to be complimentary. So that was my only observation. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Councilman Parton.
Thank you.
Greg.
Couple little things and then a couple questions. So on the first page, the 4th whereas paragraph, 2nd line, chapter 22 of the code, do not operate in a manner that promotes, and then there's an extra 2 in there, promotes the most efficient conduct. I think the 2 should go.
Okay.
Second page, 4th paragraph, right under the section C-606 registration. There's an extra S on the word lists, I believe, on the 4th line down, second to the last word.
Okay,
And I also had a question there. And in the other document that we looked at earlier, I believe it talked about one of the duties is to remove duplicate names from the supplemental list if it's also on the Maryland list. Does that need to be specified in this document, or are
no,
you
we
comfortable?
don't have to do that. We
Okay.
can, but this is the charter. Then the code is where the town council writes clarification.
Okay.
So we don't really have to, but
Okay. I just wanted to check with that. Third page, section 5. Under the section C-612 vote count. The sentence that's added in the week following poll closing, should that be more specific to say 7 days or 7 business days rather than the week following? Because that's
easily, I don't want it to be 7 business days. I want it to
Okay.
be the next Tuesday.
uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm okay with 7 business. The more time you want to give me, the better.
Yeah.
But the reality here is actually probably this is something I forgot to say and probably should have said. One of the changes I've made here is I no longer intend to count absentee ballots the night of the election. I after 15 hours of election day, trying to get into and then having to get out of the community center and move over to here and then start counting. The judges are too tired to be able. We keep making mistakes, and it's too hard to do it. The county doesn't even allow them to touch it. They can't even touch the absentee ballots until after 8 o'clock the next day. And I've changed it in here and into the code to give myself 48 hours before I have to update the statement of vote.
Okay. So I was just
This is about the provisional ballots, and
Right.
and I have to go to. I don't care if it's 7 business days or 1 week.
just 1 week or in the week following to me is open to interpretation. Does the week start on Sunday? So it could be up to 7 days.
In the
could
week
be
following
10.
the election, doesn't it say that?
It says in the week following poll
Poll
closing.
Okay, so polls close at 8 p.m. on Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's a special election,
Mhm.
It closes at 8 p.m. on the night of the special election. So you would have a week later to do the provisional ballots. I'm gonna,
Right. So,
initially-
but the way it reads though, in the week following is not
Yeah,
a specific number of days.
If you feel it appropriate, sir, to change it to 7 calendar days, do so. If not, I'm sure the council will live with it.
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to point that out.
you.
And further down in that same paragraph, the second to the last sentence, the 6 candidates for councilmen with the highest number of votes probably should be changed to the 6 candidates for town council with the highest number of votes. And again, councilmen is repeated further down, and maybe that should be elected as council members. I think, yeah, that's all of my comments, questions, suggestions. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Keith. Councilman Favre? Thank you, sir. We appreciate your time and appreciate the work ahead of you to finalize these documents.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, town paving general operating expenses. Holly, would you like to brief the council?
Yes. So the town awarded a contract to Beltway Paving as part of our highway user revenue repairs for the year. And in that bid proposal, we asked for itemized pricing for both mill and overlay. So the costs that you have before you now are general operating expenses. Some of that includes striping expenses, which we also requested pricing for in the bid, but it was not in the lump sum that we awarded. So we're bringing it back to town council to approve. It's budgeted items that we have allocated for this fiscal year. And Jay can provide some additional information in terms of what the actual operating paving is if you have additional questions.
Marsh?
Yeah, I just had a comment. Beltway Paving, Jay, Beltway Paving's the contractor that has done this past year, the paving through town, Richfield Station, and wherever else, right?
Yeah, the latest one, correct.
I might be mistaken, but I know when they were paving Woodland Court, I don't think they were Beltway Paving trucks that were there. There was a subcontractor of theirs. It was there. And it's just a comment that I wanted to make. I don't know if you have terminology in your contract about a contractor subletting, and there's insurance stuff that goes with that. And,
We do.
okay. That was my only comment. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarification, I just want to make sure I understand this. So the suggestion is to award the 34K to Beltway Paving to have them on retainer for the rest of the fiscal year to do repairs? Is that what I'm, or no?
Sorry, I'll start and then.
Go ahead.
So basically, we asked for itemized pricing so that additional work that we have in town to complete, we could complete under a locked-in price by the
These are
contractor.
identified
Yes,
tasks, not things that may come up
correct.
throughout the year.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next, we have utility meter software upgrades.
So I'll start, and Connie, I'll let you answer operational questions. So town council awarded or allocated funds in the fiscal year of 20 for upgrading our software that would allow us to identify things such as water leaks in real time. So instead of Public Works personnel going on site and manually having to read some of these meters, it would allow Connie in the office to have real-time information day of without having to deploy additional resources in the field. So I've itemized out some of the abilities that this software has. Something is remote disconnect. So Connie can shut off services if needed in the office instead of sending out Public Works crew as well. So it just gives us some more functionality to manage the system. There is a promotion currently right now. The total cost of the software upgrade is about $68,248. We are able to get the software at $50,000 if we sign on before the end of the year. So it's a good time to make the upgrade and if, yeah, Connie, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well,
specifically?
I think the one thing that we haven't touched on, the most important thing is going forward, as of right now, at least one half of our remote reading pieces of equipment have been upgraded so that when this software is implemented, we will be able to read at least right now half of our meters remotely from the tower. A tower will be set up in actually Richfield Station. And we will be able to pick up the readings there and they will come right back to computer here in the office rather than having to be read by manually driving the streets.
And we do have it planned to upgrade all of the meters. We're phasing it in over the next 2 years in the budget to make sure all of them are upgraded across the town.
Just one other thing that I think is really impressive about the smart meter system. Once we get all of this stuff in place, people will be able to go onto our payment website, which is now basically just a payment website. They'll pull up their account like they can now, where they can see what their quarterly consumption has been over as many quarters as I think we allow 2 years right at the moment. But they'll be able to see what's going on in their home that moment, that day. So that's pretty impressive. A lot of people are really interested in that sort of information.
Go ahead, Charlie.
So this is an issue that's sort of near and dear to my heart, and I'm just curious about this. You talk here about the ability to disconnect. Can you actually shut water off someone's home remotely?
If there is a certain type of meter installed at the property, yes, you can.
So that okay.
We
so
do not have those meters installed now, and those meters would only be used, I would say, in instances where we think there may be issues where we may need to do that. Let me just leave it that way.
So would a consumer like any citizen have the option to say, I would like one of those meters in my home?
Absolutely, you'd have to purchase it.
And what's the cost for something like that?
I don't know how
You
much
don't know.
the smart meter additional cost is.
And then the last thing I'm curious about, you said there would be I'm quoting you because I don't fully understand it, but there would be a pole in Richfield Station. So I guess.
No, not a pole. It's going to be on top of the water tower. It's going to be attached to the water tower.
So there's some connectivity then from the home to this tower,
Radio control.
which then goes from there to town hall.
And just so you understand, you already have radio control in your home now.
Yeah, I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the
I was
same,
curious about
it's the
security
same thing you
implications.
have in your home right now.
Okay, thank you.
Your question, Larry?
Just a clarification on the cost. Originally, it was quoted as $68,248.
I think this is going to be more a Holly question.
$68,248. As I read this, apparently there's some special promotion. If you sign it by the end of the year, it dropped to $52,249. And we've got some kind of extra special deal that we get it for $50,000. Am I understanding
That's
that correct?
correct, which
So
is what
we're-
we budgeted.
So we're going to get it for $50,000, which anybody else that was trying to get it now would have to pay $68,248.
Right.
Cool. Thank you.
I really like saving money. Yes, sir.
I think we all do.
Yep. Amen.
Yeah.
So there's a number of efficiencies that this is going to allow, and like you've discussed. Have we either quantified or estimated like how long this will pay for itself till it pays for itself? Because it will eventually. It'll pay for itself. Do you have an idea of how long it would take to do that?
Jay can probably speak to some of that because he knows how much time his men spend doing these things for me.
So to give you some history, when I started with the town, we had what was called the 505 first series radio read boxes that had a 5-year life. And we were doing half of the drive around route, which back then it was 1,200 and some meters. We'd read them and then we would go out and do the manual reads on half of that list because they were malfunctioning. It's just like cell phones. They evolve every year. So now we're on the 3rd generation. This is the 4th generation. But we still have one page left. We'll still go out from a discrepancy report, which is good that Connie does. Some people use too much at a red flag. Some people, somehow their meter read backwards. There's always discrepancies. We'll check them. So that time has gone way down, but it's still there. And, in a season like this, when you do this quarter and next quarter, you go out, the meter's under a foot of snow, there's always time involved. So that's part of it. But the biggest savings, I think, is when Connie has a closure, we'll go do a final read so they can go to settlement with what they owe and this and that. If the house is online, she could punch it up that moment, doesn't even call us, has that reading, knows this. If a customer calls and swears their daughter moved out and they don't water the flowers anymore, and I know I didn't use this much water, you can go back in time in 15-minute increments and see the history on the meter here in town hall. So people are always suspect we're doing something in the meters. It diffuses that. We don't have to go out. If they're like, all right, let me see if I'm on track, Connie would have the ability to pull it up and say, hey, this month, by the way, you're at this rate, figure out if something's wrong or not. So that there's a lot of time spent serving the customer. We are a small town that it's hard to quantitate or whatever you want to do. But believe me, it will save us a lot of time. It'll pay for itself in 2 years, I'm thinking.
And I can put together some numbers for before it comes before town
I
council.
don't think it's all that important. I was just curious if it was estimated. I don't need to have you do that for my benefit. I mean, I know it will, but I was just curious and if it's been.
So some of the meters we've put in lately that are due either to new homes, just like in our neighborhood, we knew this was coming, so they're compatible. Some of the other ones aren't, so we'll have to figure out eventually what we have to do to reboot some of them. And we still actually have some 505s out in the system that we have to upgrade regardless if we do this or not. So of course, we're going to upgrade those, which we have been doing, to this system, if that makes sense.
Is a question, Valerie?
Yeah, just a few quick ones. Based on the discussion here, what is the maintenance cost annually for the software? Is there one?
No,
Or is it minimal? So
no, we
there's
don't have a manual annual maintenance. Am I recalling correctly, Connie?
Awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was talking about.
No,
the
she's talking about the
software.
software.
Usually there could be a
It's
software.
inclusive if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
If I heard this right, let me know. So we have the proper meters, the MXUs, I think 50% of the town is covered with those. right?
50% of them have been replaced
So this-
to the type it would take to be able to read with this new system.
Okay, that's what I heard.
It's what we've been working on for the last 2 years.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then in about 2 years, it'll be over.
I
mean,
hope
we'll
it's
have-
over before then. I think that at the rate we're going, I mean, the guys have really been working hard to put them in as often as we can. So I think within another year, we can have the rest of them covered, probably close to it.
And so the only thing that is listed as some of the key features that might not be usable right now is that remote disconnect because you need a upgrade to the meter.
I don't foresee us ever having a whole lot of remote disconnect meters because we're not a town that needs it. That's just one feature that's available. As it was explained to me when I first heard about this system, it's more for people, maybe a place where you have tenants that come in and out a lot, such as maybe a commercial establishment where somebody, the landlord says, okay, I don't want them to have water anymore. They can call down here and say, okay, shut that off. And it's done automatically. So it's more, I think, a feature that you would offer to people to purchase for their own use for some reason or another. And, or we may have a somewhere down the road, I can think of a place or two where we wish we'd have had it over the last years. Not many, but a couple.
I mean, just thinking outside the box and totally crazy. I mean, it sounds like it would work really well for residential areas. Imagine how it would work on our water mains if we could turn off water
Remotely?
remotely. And
I think you could, but that would be a whole nother monetary value. I mean, that would be.
I'm just saying, there might be an entrepreneurship opportunity here.
Yeah, I would love it.
Thank you. Okey doke. Water reclamation treatment plant filter cleaning.
Yes. Okay. So the water reclamation treatment plant with its upgrade received 4 main filters that has filter media within each of the filters. So this price is actually had been discussed with town council previously in terms of taking each of the filters offline and cleaning them. So the what is before you right now is taking filter number 1 offline and going through a cleaning process for that. And John, could you clarify the warranty on this?
The warranty on the work,
On the cleaning?
well, he does warranty that he will get it to turnkey, which is hopefully the operation of a new filter by the statement of turnkey. I'd have to go back to be honest, I had to go back and see what he did for the quote.
We'll follow up on that. Councilman Morris had asked me prior to this item coming up, so we'll definitely follow up specifically.
Yeah, the sands usually are good for 10 years before replacing through time anyway. But we've never seen, we had that one problem in the startup of the filters. So we never did see the full operation of a new filter. And this should clean it and get it back to hopefully a turnkey. That's why we're going to start the operation on the worst filter that we have. And if it works, then we know that that was the problem that we've been having this whole time. And hopefully he'll warrant it. I'll have to research that and see what the warranty is on it, because on that one quote, I don't even know if there was a mention on the warranty of it, to be honest.
It says warranties their work for improved performance of the filters, and by cleaning it, they're definitely going to be improved performance. I mean, that's the warranty. It sounds like, not like you have a 5-year, not have to worry about anything warranty, but by performing the cleaning, they're warranting that cleaning is going to improve the performance of the filters, I guess is what it's saying. Because down in their report, their summary and their conclusion, it says that their report shows that cleaning the media will be successful and should result in significant benefits. But I'm not sure if you're going to get like a 5-year or
We'll
anything
definitely
like that.
clarify
Yeah,
before.
yeah. All right.
Couple points just to bring up, and John, you know this better than anybody. One is filters are regularly backwashed anyway. That's part of the normal operational cycle. And then on a somewhat regular basis, you have to do a major cleaning of the filters. This is outside any of that. And I go back to the second sentence in here on the construction testing period. Contractor did not implement proper set points, create an environment that decreases their overall performance, which is what is driving this problem, is my understanding right now. So the question is, has Blue Earth made an assessment that we do indeed have the proper media in there, that once it's clean, we've got the proper media? Is that correct?
Yes, that has been confirmed through Leopold, their design. It's 72 inches of sand with 15 inches of gravel on top of the underdrain. And
There's lots of ways to build these filters, folks. That's why I'm asking this question. So, yep.
The underdrain is a Leopold patent design, and actually the 1000 media MS that we have actually didn't call for the gravel to be on top of it. It didn't need it. But the engineers decided to add that extra feature and keep the gravel in place to add an extra protection onto the cover of the underdrain. The underdrain is like a box that has a bunch of almost like the gutter guard type things on your gutters, slots on it, and then the water just filters down through the sand and goes to these little slots in the underdrain. But with the gravel, extra added gravel, 15 inches of gravel on top, it adds an extra protection. And it was fortunate that we did get that feature in it, or it could have been worse when they had the solids into the filters.
Another question for you, John. Was Blue Earth able to give us any kind of professional opinion as to cause of the problem?
Yes, they came, when they did the analysis of the sand, they came up with minerals, which was a big factor of calcium, which was binding up along with our methanol, which is a food source to build different bacteria in it. They also did a biomass test on it, but they didn't distinguish what type of biomass. It could have been algae, it could be microorganisms, but they did a quick test, like a chloroform test, which when you test it, it tells you, oh, there's a presence there, but we don't know exactly, breaking it down to what type of presence it is. But they did the same type of thing here where they said, oh, there's presence of biomass here, but we don't know if it's algae or microorganisms, whatever. So that's why they designed to do two different type of treatments. To one, do the minerals to clean it, and then the second one will be to disinfect everything and take out the biomass.
Where I'm going with these questions, and Holly, this is probably more for you. Do we have any further evidence to support our withholding of that $96,200?
Only the engineering report that we had initially had completed and this along with that. And that is what we have submitted to the contractor's attorney as evidence of holding the money.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna see if I just have a few questions. If we were to replace the media of all the filters at $220,000, what is the life of those filters if they were replaced?
Approximately about 10 years, and then
So,
we take a look at it.
Basically, what we're doing is we're cleaning. I just want to make sure I understand totally. We're cleaning them at a cost of $15,000 per for 4 filters, with the hope and expectation that they'll last approximately, once cleaned, for how long?
Well, it's 15,000 per,
Per, so it's 60,000.
yes.
Yeah. How long do we expect that to be for? The cleaning to have worked?
Well, I'm hoping to stretch that to get 10 years out of them if they can get them to turnkey.
Even if you couldn't get 10 years, even if you got 7 or 8 years, it would still be less than paying $220,000 for 4 new ones with a lifespan of 10 years. So
Right.
it's worth the risk of
Right.
seeing if this happens
Well, we're going to,
from a cost perspective, I think.
yes, yes. We're going to do the first filter, which is the worst. And that will give us a good idea of how this process is going to take place.
When you say a good idea of how well this process is going to work and you're going to take a look at it, do you anticipate that being like 1 month look, 6 months look, or how long a look do you think you need?
That's up to their process of how long it takes to, because after each process, they will take an evaluation and test the sand again and determine if they have to do another treatment until they get it to where they want it. And then they'll do the second treatment of disinfecting everything.
The best I can tell, this is a problem that we did not cause, but we need to address. And this seems like the most cost efficient way to address it. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Please.
All right, thank you. So I think that was helpful. That clarified some of my questions. But when I read through the Blue Earth report, I was under the impression that they were saying that this cleaning, and I'm presuming if it actually works out, but they seem to suggest that even when you start getting to the end of lifespan, like at the 10-year point, they were saying that this cleaning could be another way of dealing with that rather than replacing the media. Did I get the right conclusion out of what they were saying, or is that true, or are they selling?
It depends on a lot of different applications, because it depends on what type of water that you're putting through the filters.
Mm-hmm.
Different treatments, and you'll get a lot more solids, what we call suspended solids. It's not the real heavy duty stuff, but it's a lighter type of suspended solids, and they might have different type of chemicals or treatments in their process that could bound up the sand, and different things can happen to different plants. So each plant is going to be different. But on a plant like ours, where we do 1.5 million capacity, and with good treatment, they should easily get 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And if you keep it operating good, cleaning it may be another alternative, where if you have a plant that does 5 to 10 million, and they have several different filters, that they have a lot of different chemicals throughout the whole plant, that and different type of water, hard water plays into it, different things that may not last that long.
Okay, so in theory, now let's just say this does work for us now, but in theory, 8-9 years down the road, this could be an alternative to, rather than spending 220,000, but to spend 60,000 again to re-clean them to get another, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years out of them.
Oh,
Theoretically?
definitely. And that's where the analysis of the sand each time, when we start to see anything where the backwashing is causing a little bit of problems or something, and we can't get the hours in between the backwashes, then we'll take a look at the sand again and analyze it. That's the key. And the labs can definitely break down exactly what's going on. So,
Okay. That's, I just needed to try to understand that a little bit more.
right.
And the other question I had was, so this apparently was caused by the contractor doing this. How do we prevent it from happening again?
Well, we'll implement different process backup systems on our plant and the process controls and everything, which is my next thing coming up on the agenda. But we'll make sure we're adding different alarms to catch different processes in before anything happens, to prevent any type of solids going into those filters again. And the more steps and the more backup systems for alarms and processes we can do, we can just prevent it by catching it early.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll respond, get people in there to make the necessary moves to not have anything like this happen.
And there are specific steps then that you can take and that you're thinking of
Yes.
taking to do that. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Fevre?
And just for clarification, and I won't be specific in the question, but so we're still, based on our last meeting on this topic, we're still holding funds, not the amount here, but a different level. And we held that for this reason, but we're not applying those funds to this cleaning yet. Is that correct? Because it's coming from capital projects rather than those held funds. Is that correct?
So the funds that were held were actually not encumbered. So they went back into unallocated
Okay.
reserve.
So then the second part of that, this effort is only a quarter of the full effort, and obviously it's not expected. It wasn't expected or planned for. This is a small bite, but is this going to adversely affect something else that was planned in capital projects later on? Do you anticipate or?
Well, we can deal with this. And I have some other projects that I did encumber from 2019 that we'll still get a couple things done. But we always have 2021.
Okay, thank you, sir. But don't go anywhere. Water reclamation treatment plant clarifier sensors.
Quick summary.
Holly will give
So-
us a quick summary.
This is one of the projects that John was mentioning. The clarifier sensors were actually, the cost was budgeted for fiscal year 19. We encumbered a large portion of those funds over into this fiscal year. And this cost actually will be split amongst our partners. And John, I'll let you provide a summary.
Yes, these sensors will be placed into what we have at the plant. It's secondary clarifiers. It's the big round tanks. Now, in these tanks is where the process comes from our oxidation ditches, activated sludge, into a clarifier where it settles out. It clarifies the solids from the water, and the solids settle to the bottom, which they're removed and back to the process. And then the water is further treated. By placing these sensors in, they will read the actual sludge blanket in these clarifiers. So we can monitor if it's a 1-foot blanket of sludge in them to a 10-foot blanket. And we'll be able to monitor this on our Mission SCADA system, and we can put alarms to the different levels of it. So if we say, okay, at 8 foot, we know we have a problem, let's get somebody in there to make some moves and get that blanket under control. That's the main thing that will kill filters, is if that blanket were to overflow, it goes right into the filters is the next step. And the solids kills filters. So this will prevent, and it'll give us another backup on our alarm. So if anything else fails, like if we start to see the filters rise for high levels, we have alarms for that. But if for some reason they don't go off, we'll still have a backup with these blankets going off and say, hey, get in here. And when somebody arrives, they can check everything else out and figure out what's else going on. So this can be monitored off-site onto the computer workstations or on the phone from your SCADA mission systems right from your phone. So,
Any questions of John?
So just make sure I got this. So for fairly little money, we're going to provide a safety safeguard that will protect our filters that we just got done talking about. There will be an add-on to our current SCADA software system that will provide you or your staff off-site control. Yeah, this is a really good idea.
I can just add, and to add to all that, it alleviates some poor operator having to go out there in a storm with a dipstick to measure the blanket level, which is what's done now. Yeah.
oh, trended.
Okey-doke. Safe routes to school task order to address cross-section analysis. Would you like to give us a briefing, Holly?
Sure.
Thank you, John.
So this is before town council, I know everyone's been looking for an update, and the mayor has been requesting several updates regarding the Route 261 Safe Routes to School project. The state has received our 30% submission as of earlier this year and has been reviewing it and going back and forth between myself, our town engineer, and our contracted engineer, BAI, regarding additional clarification. They have some issues with the cross-section analysis that's been presented, and they want additional review to take place. The review that they're requesting actually exceeds 30% design, and it's not within the scope of work with our contractor. So we had to initiate an understanding of what a change order, or they're calling it a task order, would be in order to complete that work. So the change task modification to do the cross-section analysis that the state would like to see to move the project forward is a change of $24,445.60. The 80-20% split would apply within our MOU, and they would be willing to add that additional change since we are still well under our total project limit of $162,500. So since we had some cost savings with our engineer, there's some room to add this additional project. So we're still working through that, but just wanted to put it before town council if we're able to finalize it and award those funds at this month's town meeting, just so we can continue to move the project forward.
Any questions? Mr. Larry?
Just a clarification, in the project progress section, it talks about January 2018 to complete the 30% design work. And then the next sentence says coordinated throughout the project, town submitted the completed design project. That was the 30% design, not the
Yes.
completed
Yes.
project. Okay.
Yes.
Then my follow-on question is, what I'm getting out of this is at least SHA is suggesting that there was an omission from the 30% design submittal. That's requiring us to go back and amend that submittal. Is that correct?
Not entirely. It's above and beyond a 30% submission. They're requesting something more than what would be encompassed in a 30% design.
But is it something that would have been provided in a later, say, the 60% submittal?
Yes.
So that's leading me to my question. Are we simply paying for something sooner than what we thought we would have to pay?
Likely. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So we hopefully will see a slight decrease, maybe in the quarter of $24,445 in the subsequent design effort.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good job, Larry. Just echo Larry's comment there. As long as there's nothing that they should have been expected to provide during the 30%, what it is, and it's not unusual, and it's not. Sounds like that's a good point, Larry. No comment. Thank you. Good job.
Okay, very good. I know three of us have HOA meetings to attend after this, so I'll do the council lightning round and adjourn. Madam Vice President?
Real quick, then I'd just like to thank all those that came out to help with box the turkeys, the Thanksgiving Day food boxes that we did. We did 200, and thank you very much. And they started being delivered last week. Thank you.
Yeah, in the interest of time, I'll also be brief, but I just want to echo something that the mayor's talked a number of times about living in a small town. And I just want to echo the incredible support that we've had. And it was repeated tonight when I saw some people, some of them have left, but that I haven't seen in a while. It is an honor for me to be a part of this council in a town with friends that express that kind of caring, and I really appreciate it.
Hopefully work is continuing on the water and sewer manual. I know P&Z's got a meeting tomorrow night that hopefully they will do whatever their magic is to do that. Just not a whole lot of general public here, but for the record, through the mayor's help, we will be recognizing the first responders that replied to the Fishing Creek fire at the upcoming council meeting. So everyone please show up for that. I understand, and Sharon, if you could confirm that the town has reserved a spot in the Pat Carpenter Holiday Parade for those of us that care to walk on behalf of the town.
That would be Marty. You'd
Marty.
have to get with Marty.
That's confirmed. Thank you. I'm sorry, Sharon. And then finally, just wanted to share that my colleague, Mr. Morris, and I both have received appointments to serve on the Remediation Advisory Board for the Naval Research Lab. So we'll be able to keep you posted on that. Thank you.
Yeah, that was really going to be my comment, being made part of the resident advisory board. And then when I met them, that group during a meeting, they had made a comment that they're required to have resident advisory boards. My initial comment was, well, why are we just starting to do it now? So I'm looking forward to being part of that group and help promote whatever message is coming from that direction there. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you for doing that, Larry and Greg. Thank you all. Have a good.
Yeah, just to confirm, I talked with our contractor who's supporting the Walkable Communities Group today, and they are going to provide us a telephonic update on Monday on a regular scheduled meeting on their progress. So they were here within the last few weeks doing some more survey work in town. So they're moving forward, and we'll have an update on that. Second part is I am most likely not going to be at the meeting next week. There's a chance I could be here, but most likely I'm not. So I apologize for that. And then I would ask Charlie if you would provide the update to the group, following that meeting on Monday. I would think 25, maybe. I know it's up to Keith. Keith will be the first in line now. So, and I apologize for that, but I'm going to try to be here, but I probably won't be. So.
Moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Anytime you want to go, it's right next to the North Beach Fire.